Welcome back to the stream. You might hear that my voice is not awesome today, so I may talk a little less. We'll see. We'll see. But we're doing some package source as usual. Oops, I forgot to bring up the chat in my stream. Let's fix that. There. You can see yourselves a little bit if you say something. On the last stream, we were working on updating bincimap, and I was spinning a little bit because of the many changes that I will want to make to how it's done, which was kind of confounding my path through the changes that were necessary to complete the update. So that's on pause anyway because I have some more trivial updates. And so traditionally, I do the ones that are easy first, and it makes me feel better. And then I'm more caught up, and I have some momentum. And so that's what I'm going to go for. The updates that are available now are to do with, I recently did them, but there are more updates now, to S6 networking and TPD and a few other pieces of the ScarNet stack. So one of them that was updated recently is scalibs. And let's see if I can pull up the email with the details off screen. Yes, there we go. There's actually a couple. So we have a few things to do. We have an updated S6. Let's just make panes for all of them. There's S6. There's S6 networking. And there's TPD. At least those few. And the versions I believe we are going to be working with are... Oh, and that's not an exhaustive list. We also have S6 DNS. Okay, and that ought to be all of them. Scalibs. S6. S6 DNS. S6 networking. And TPD. Very much in no particular order. But those are the ones. So first things first is always scalibs. This is the one where all the portability challenges are concentrated. And I believe I already prepared this update. But let's check it. And just for completion, let's pull up scalibs, S6, S6 DNS, S6 networking, and TPD. Those are the ones in flight. Yes, so the new scalibs is this one. And I have already prepared that update. You can see here in my Vim gutter that that's a change. It's probably done. Let's see what changed. New dist file. Adjust the patch to continue to apply. End of story. And I think I even prepared the commit message. That's it. So let's just make sure I can really build it. So these are the sort of portable and also usable APIs that the rest of the skaware relies on when not calling Unix APIs directly. And so all the portability challenges are generally here. And then the other packages have an easier time doing what they want to do. Okay, so we've installed that. Do I want to bump the build link requirement to the same version in order to get better IPv6 parsing code? I feel like I probably should. Yeah, I guess that's up to consumers. I don't have to decide that for them. The interfaces are the same. So that's it for scalibs. With the package lint being clear, yeah, I consider that is staged. Yeah, no functional changes. Yeah, see, I had to bump the build link version for this one because new functions, removed functions. Yeah, but this update, no. So that's scalibs. Next up is S6, which I think I stuck down here. So let's get that one going. Should have a clean diff to begin with. I do. And the latest version is 2.12.0.2. Yes, and what about the manual pages? S6 manual pages are up to 2.12.0.1.1. Let me check if that's really the latest. Yeah, there's a newer one, 2.12. That makes more sense. 0.2.1. Are there release notes for these? No. So make some should suffice there. Oh, we had to get exec line. Okay. Do we always depend on exec line? I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Mm-hmm. Very well. Let's get the news out of there and prepare a commit message. And the changes since this. Can we be more specific about the bug fixes? And this one, bug fix. No, thank you. I'll just type that. And control and or isn't. And then the more recent update. Yeah, so we need to specifically declare that scalibs. here. Building. This we need to override. Yep. Good. Okay. And then what else was I looking for? Right. What are the bug fixes in the newer version? I don't think there were none. I'm looking at some emails off screen here. Bug fix. It says the bug could prevent a shutdown from completing. That's good enough. Okay. So now let's make it actually build, which I imagine is the same plist. Okay, S6 is staged. Next up is S6 DNS, which I think we had in here. And this is now version 2.3.7.0. And also requires this dependency. So let's borrow what we did there. Not all consumers do, but these ones do. Well, any notes on what's new? Yeah, new interface to only process Etsy hosts if a client requires it. Properly ignore. Yeah, this is all correct. Okay. Who uses this? I think it's just S6 networking and package source. Yeah, so in that case, because I'm about to update S6 networking, I can do version match here, requiring all consumers to use the latest API, and all consumers are about to get updated anyway. Might as well put it in the build link here rather than in each client, and then have to remove it again someday. So that's S6 DNS. Prepare to commit message. It packages. not going to install it, just because that'll let us exercise the build link dependency a little better. Next up is S6 networking, which must be down here. Yep. Okay. And this goes to that. A bunch of comments about what's available. And then manual pages are now available like so. And unflag those and pop back down here. Right, and so I don't have to say that I specially require the new S6DNS because S6DNS will say it for me. But I will need to do it for scalibs and for S6. And I need to look at this. Okay. All right. So let's pop in here and borrow that. That's the same. And then for S6 DNS, greater than or, oh no, sorry. S6 greater than or equal to 2.12.0.1. Okay. Yeah, at some point I may want to try switching the SSL backend to LibreTLS, but for now it's been using BareSSL, so this does not affect the current packaging. These do, but that doesn't. Okay. Oops. So now it's going to build S6DNS to be new enough. And then not install it. That was a test of the dependency versioning system, and it worked fine. Okay. Let's just try that freshly. One of the patches no longer applies. I think the engine got rewritten. Let's pop it to net S6 networking. There. And just that one. Okay, so maybe this is no longer there because the dependency is sufficiently new. And again, this is the libTLS case, not the BareSSL case. So I consider that we don't need this patch anymore. And if I ever bring those back, maybe. That's it. Did anything else apply? I think that was the whole patch. Yeah, it is. So then in that case, get rid of it. Go again. Should be nothing to do. Now I can copy the change log out of there. Okay. Lines are a little long, but I guess it's okay. Okay. So I think before we do a build, I think I've bumped the version, bumped the man pages version. We're depending on the scalibs, we should. We're depending on the S6, we should. And right. And we don't need this patch anymore. For now. So make sure we package up. Yep. That's almost everything. That just leaves tippity. And that has been bumped to 2. And man pages have also been bumped. Very well. Runtime. Should be version this or later. Okay. Excellent. Is there an executable? No, no. Looks good. Okay. I think those are all the updates. And so now we can proceed to commit them. So I'd like to mirror that to my local Git repo of just that. Next up, we're looking for S6. ordering here. This one relies on the new scalibs. I don't have that one in it yet. Okay, that's it for S6. Then S6 DNS. S6 networking. And Tippity. That's all the latest skaware. Done. That takes something off the to-do list. Another low-hanging fruit is this Swagger code gen. So let's pop into there. Send devel. This is a Java-based tool that I used in my last job. I don't specifically care about it, but easy enough to continue to stay on top of it. Currently installed, yeah. Does that work? No. Just do that. Yep, so that's as good as it was before. Just gonna commit that. Very well. And that brings me back to what I was working on. Most recently. And that is a different problem. So, in my last stream on bincimap, I was struggling with this, and we have this. In my last stream, I was struggling in bincimap with trouble with the dependency chain and package source, where some things explicitly depend on the original ucspi-tcp implementation, which is IP version 4 only, and some things need the version 6 one, and some things will accept either, and this can get you into a situation where you can't install all the things you want because the original ucspi-tcp and the IP version 6 extended one are conflicting packages. They install programs with the same names, manual pages with the same names. And it's not quite, I don't think, as simple as just always preferring the version 6 enabled one, because it is not probably as bug-free as the original, and it doesn't always follow the same interface. Like if you wanted to set up a run script that knows what address to listen on, to listen to all the available addresses on the machine, I don't think you can say it the same way in the two different implementations. So they're not exactly one-to-one. It's not like a complete one-to-one replacement. It's mostly compatible, mostly a superset, but not entirely. So the experiment that I'm working on now is, and I'm imagining extending this later to S6 networking that I just updated, is what if I used the package alternatives framework? Specifically, what if I made ucspi-tcp and ucspi-tcp6 install their programs, which would otherwise have the same names, with some kind of a prefix, like DJB TCP server and FEH TCP server. And then rely on the package alternatives framework to make whichever the user prefers or designates also available under the familiar names. Instead of having them not be able to install simultaneously because the names always conflict, let them be installed simultaneously under new kinds of names, and then let the alternatives framework provide the familiar names. And the reason I was thinking this could extend to S6 networking is that all of its programs are prefixed with S6, and otherwise many of them are the same names and similar interfaces. So that's my thought. I thought if I could diffuse the conflict here first, that's practical, and then maybe I could ride the same pattern when I want to switch to S6 networking for some things and make it a little bit smoother to do. That's just the thought that I'm having. But first, I'm going through the experiment. And the experiment is to make each of these packages change the files they install to be under new names. So the original ucspi-tcp is substantially done. Not all the way done, but a great deal done. And here's an example of what changes. That's not a great way to look at the diff. Can we do it with context? Can we do it with, I don't know. Anyway, you'll just notice it's all the same things except with the DJB in front of it. And that's not as easy as all that, because some of these programs call some of the other programs. So for example, when you're generating the mconnect program, it had said TCP client, but you want it to say this. It had said mconnect.io, but you want it to say this. And there's some other examples, other things I also want to take care of while I'm here. This had said plain old sh, but I wanted to use the shell that package source thinks is the best born shell for the platform, which on the Mac is this one. And then likewise, it was an unqualified cat, but sometimes you have a different program that doesn't behave exactly like cat in your path. I actually do. And so I replaced the naked cat with, again, what package source thinks is the most appropriate full path to cat on your system. So this is substantially done, but not all the way done. Here are the things I'm still thinking about with that. Here's what's new. To be able to support the alternatives framework in the pre-configure stage, I look for all the shell scripts, and I do some sed on them. Anywhere I see home, bin, alphanumeric, and a dash, I replace that with home bin djb and whatever that was. Anywhere I see shell-c to run a command, I replace it with package source's idea of that shell. And wherever I see cat as a command, I replace it with package source's idea of that. And here are a few more things I have to do if I want to be really thorough about this, which I generally do, because I want to work through all the implications of this before I decide to commit it or not. So the manual pages are installed under these new names, but don't actually say them. If you run djb-tcp server, it still says TCP server. Might want to change that. I didn't actually create the alternatives thing yet that would give the package the metadata to say djb-tcp server is a TCP server. I've used this for check passwords, so let me show you that example. I think we have, here's the original DJB check password. Here's one that works with PAM. And so the mechanism here is I invented something called NB check password, just because check password is already taken, and NB is a common prefix for package source or NetBSD things. So I invent that this should be a command name available to users or scripts, and that what this package provides is an example of that. This can be the backing command for this. Likewise for check password PAM, it's this whole invocation that can be the backing command. And I think I did it here too. Yeah, so this is suitable, and there might be other ones. Actually, let's take a quick look. That might match a few files that are not alternatives. Security CVM does it. And then you can see some shell scripts that rely on that command. They're just calling that command. And that's why I wanted to provide it this way. I don't want to have to hard code a particular check password in here. I just want to rely on there being one. And package alternatives can make that so. Yeah, so we missed security CVM. That's another one that can do it. And that would be invoked with CVM check password like so. So I want to use the same mechanism and make those commands available either with those original familiar names or maybe like NB, since I already did that for check password. I'm not sure. I have to think about it. But so that's where this experiment is going. As long as I'm updating this package, there's an option that I had on by default that I think at this point doesn't need an option to turn it off. I need to make sure that anybody that's depending on ucspi-tcp, once I change the names, depends on package alternatives in order to be able to still reach the same names. And then here was my idea to maybe do it for S6 networking. One aspect of this then is that as far as the package conflicts, This used to be an open-ended wildcard conflict with ucspi-tcp6, but assuming I make the same update on that side of the package, versions of that package that are this or newer won't conflict. And I did something parallel, symmetrical on the ucspi-tcp6 side, that if we have at least this package revision to ucspi-tcp, they don't conflict. They can both install. I think my voice has totally run out of gas and made it longer than I thought I would. So that's it for today. We did our skaware updates. We looked at the package alternatives framework and how we might exploit it to allow two otherwise conflicting packages to be installed simultaneously, which would solve a practical problem in the package source dependency graph, and maybe provide an easy migration path to S6 networking using the same alternatives mechanism. That's going to be it for today. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, enjoy. If you don't, but you take the opportunity to be with your family today, enjoy. If it's tough to be with your family today, I wish you strength. And if you're deliberately not with them, strength for that as well. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I will sound better next time. See you then.